Good morning and welcome back to our first Workforce Wednesday of 2021 and the Kentucky Chamber Workforce Center's Bus to Business virtual program series. My name is Harper Smith and I am the manager of the Kentucky Chamber Workforce Center and I help direct the Bus to Business program. And we're so excited to bring this program to you all virtually. Before I introduce our speaker today, I want to thank our sponsors in this effort, the Kentucky Society for Human Resources Management, KY SHRM, and AT&T, who are both awesome partners of ours, and we always are excited to welcome their involvement in helping to bring classrooms to careers. I'd also like to thank the entire team at Ulini for their awesome virtual event platform that you all are on right now. As usual, all of our resources are housed on our website, kychamber.com/bus2business, as well as on our YouTube and Facebook streams. This is being broadcast live where you can go back and rewatch it later if you miss it or if you want to share with someone at a later date. So whether you're one of the 360 students we have tuning in live, or if you are tuning in at a later date, thanks for tuning in and we hope you learned something new. So today we are launching the first of a 6-part series with Horse Country to spotlight critical positions within the equine industry. Today we will be hearing from Spy Coast Farm, and our team will be watching the chat for any questions, and there'll be time at the end for a Q&A, so I'll help direct those if you put them in the chat. And I'll kick it over to Sam and the Spy Coast team now. Thanks so much.
Hi guys, my name is Samantha. I work here at Spy Coast Farm and we are in Lexington. We have a really unique facility here, which I'm excited to share with you guys. So Spy Coast Farm was started in New York, actually, along the Spy Coast of Setauket, New York. And that's where our owner was from. So she named it Spy Coast Farm after the location. And then she moved to Lexington and started to build this awesome farm. So we have a couple hundred acres here and we are right next to the Kentucky Horse Park, and we do all show jumping horses. So we have all warm bloods that are in competition or breeding. And that's really our focus here, is developing the high level of show jumping horses in North America. On the farm, we have 3 main divisions. And the 3 divisions are, we have a rehabilitation center, a breeding center, the Young Horse Development Center, which is what I'm going to talk about. And then we also just built an equine education center where we can host different events and symposiums. And it's a really, really cool facility where we can bring students, and we have a lecture hall and labs to have live horses in, and banquet room and all sorts of things, all connected to our Young Horse Center and the indoor arena we have up here. So to get started, I'll share with you, I made a little PowerPoint so we can kind of go through it like that. So if we could share that, let me pull it up. Let's see. Harper, is my PowerPoint gonna? There we go. Okay, perfect. Let me play it from the start. All right, can everyone, I'm assuming everyone can see that? Yeah. Okay, so.
Hey, Sam, real quick, I'm sorry. We're having a little trouble on the live stream. Can you just pause for just a second?
Yeah.
Our live stream is not working just now. 1 second. I'm trying to fix this. Okay, I'm on. Jordan, is anything working? Okay, I don't really know then. Okay. 1 second. Sorry, Sam.
Oh no, you're fine. The joys of technology.
So sorry about that, Sam. Technical difficulties. We directed everyone over to Facebook and YouTube because for some reason our live event is not cooperating this morning, but we're back.
Typical technology.
Yep. So sorry about that, but go ahead and proceed. So everyone, I think, should be tuning in now.
Okay, cool. No worries. Okay, so I work as the office administrator. I'm like the keeper of all things for Spy Coast in the Young Horse Development Center, which we refer to as YHDC on occasion. So if you see that in the PowerPoint, that is what it stands for. All right, so in our Young Horse Development Center, we have upwards of, we have close to 90 horses in our Young Horse Development Center. They range from age 2. I think our oldest are probably 10 this year. The goal is to sell them between like their 5 and 7-year-old year. Some of them we do hang on to have as our own competition horses or to breed. So a quick overview of our team here. So at the very top of everything, we have Lisa Laurie, and she is the sole owner of Spy Coast Farm. She has started it many years ago, and it has grown exponentially since then, and it kind of continues to grow every year. There are always more horses. We're constantly breeding, and we're really trying to breed the highest level sport horse here in North America. If you're not familiar with sport horse breeding, it is a huge, huge industry in Europe, and there are a lot of small breeders in the United States that breed for sport horses, but Spy Coast is by and large one of the largest sport horse, show jumping specifically, breeders in the United States in terms of how many horses we breed and how many are owned by Spy Coast and go on to do kind of big things in the show jumping industry. So we have Lisa at the top, and she's kind of the visionary of the whole thing, and she rides a little bit herself. She's very involved in the breeding, and she's here for about 6 months of the year. And when she's not here, she's still working from afar. Then when you look at the Young Horse Development Center specifically, David O'Brien is our head trainer here, and he has been here for 5 years. He's in charge of everything that happens with our young horses. He's our main competition rider. Here he is. Here, David, come say hello.
Hello.
So this is David. He is our main trainer here at Spy Coast. He's the main competition rider. And oh no, where is he? Oh, there we go. And he is in charge of everything that happens. And I realized I spelled your name wrong in the PowerPoint. Aside from David, we also have Adrian Griffin, who is also a trainer. He focuses a lot on the sales of our young horses here. And then we have Kieran Thompson, who also is one of the trainers, and he focuses a lot on specifically starting the young horses. And here he is, too, just in the nick of time. Okay, Kieran, welcome. Okay, so Kieran, and then we have David. They are they're all 3 Irish, which is fun. And then also in the Young Horse Center, we have a handful of riders along with grooms, myself, who does the office. We also have a resident vet, and she works on the rehab horses as well as our show horses, a resident farrier also. So what is a day in the life of a trainer? It's varying. There's a lot that goes on every day. Kieran specifically works with the younger horses that are starting, and he kind of starts them he's the first person to sit on them. He gets them ready to show and things like that. So if you want to share a little bit of how you do that or the process in which you begin a horse.
We bring them in. Usually in their end of their 2-year-old year is when we start them with the loose jumping, where we kind of judge them to see what their kind of ability will be in the future, hopefully, and also to check in on the colts that we have to see if they're going to be up to staying as stallions or if we decide that we're going to gelding them at that stage. And then we'll bring them in after that, and they start learning about the tack, handling, grooming, clipping, all of that stuff. And then they learn about lunging, long lining, and then I start to ride them. And it's at the same thing, very simple, walk, trot, canter over a few poles. We usually get that done within that 60-day period. And then they go out on a break, and then I have the next group coming through. And when they're all done, sometime in the spring of their 3-year-old year, we start them back in, then start them jumping a little bit higher. And that's kind of, and then they get moved on to, they might go and do a little bit of competition in the 4-year-old year, and then they get moved on to David here to go on through their competition career.
Thanks. So David, his portion, let's see if we can find David. Oh, okay, come down. Okay, we'll switch them out. And then I'm sure they have to get back to their stuff.
Go back, yep.
Yes. Okay, David, take it away.
So when I take them over from Kieran as 4-year-olds, I generally try and set them to what they're going to be best at. I find which discipline, if some are going to be more of a hunter or some need to be eventers.
And I'll go through all that in the PowerPoint too.
And jumpers. And then with that, then with my other riders, I go through the character of the horse and what they're ready to do. So if I have an easygoing horse and I have a more active rider, I kind of match them together like that, and I swap the horses between all the riders to get as much exposure as they can get. And then throughout the year, I start competing them. Not as much as 4-year-olds. We do maybe 2 shows a year. We do one on our own farm, the Young Horse Show, and then later on in November we do the finals of that. And then with 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, we get to compete a little bit in Ocala, Tryon, Kentucky, and we compete. That's pretty much it. Tryon, yeah.
Those are our main
shows.
Mm-hmm.
And even with those, I'm not worried with those about like looking for results or anything like that. More or less getting them from A to B, see where they're at, and then towards the finals, then we start like bringing it all together. So it's really just taking your time, a slow process of building them up. And for us, like each horse, we try as well. Everything we have is for sale, so we kind of have people trying them and all that. So it's just getting every horse as much exposure as we can get.
Yeah, in Kentucky, there's such a focus on thoroughbreds. So I think a lot of people don't realize that sport horses develop a lot different. So like where your race horses are running at 2 and 3,
yeah,
ours aren't even. You're not even riding them until they're 3. So it's a lot longer. The process is a lot longer, and we kind of plan on having them at least until they're 5 to see what their potential is and where they'll go. But that's kind of David's specialty. So
exactly.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
No problem.
Okay. All right. We can get back to our PowerPoint. So that's kind of what David and Kieran do on a daily basis. Adrian, like I said, he kind of works with both groups of horses, and he focuses largely on coordination of sales and matching horses with new riders, which is always a fun experience. So they kind of touched on it, but the main path for the horses in our Young Horse Development Center, it starts honestly from the breeding side of it. So every year The trainers, our breeding vet, and our owner, they all sit down and they go through a huge list of mares and stallions and their results and things like that. And they choose what stallions they think would be good matches for specific mares. And so we're really trying to lay a path for that horse before inception. Obviously, breeding is, you can try as hard as you can to make sure it works perfect, but it doesn't always work perfectly. But the goal is to do it thoughtfully and make sure that you end up with horses that are structurally sound, have great personalities, and potential to really develop into something special. On the breeding side, where they live until they're 2, they do a lot of, they get handled a lot. They're handled every single day through their 2-year-old year. They get trimmed, they get their feet trimmed, they get worked on by the vet. So by the time they get to us, they're really very, they're ready to be in training. Nothing is really a surprise aside from being ridden. Everything else they've experienced before, which we really love, because when we get a 2-year-old, it knows what to expect. It's not rogue, so to speak. On the breeding side, they also, before they come here in their yearling year, they go through a North American Stud Book inspection where they get approved by North American Stud Book so they can have their registration, and we can continue on with them as a registered horse of the North American Stud Book. And that's the stud book that our farm uses. There are many different stud books, and that's just the particular stud book that we work with. And they're all Belgian warm bloods. When they come to training, like Kieran was saying, in their 2-year-old year, we kind of feel them out, see what their disposition is like. They do a lot of training on the ground. They get long lined, which, if you're not familiar, it's 2 very long ropes, one on each side of their mouth, and it attaches to the bit. And the person who's long lining them stands way behind them. And so it's kind of like the ropes kind of act as a steering wheel, and you can push the horses forward. And we put a saddle on them for the first time like that, so that they kind of understand that there is a weight on their back. They will be asked to steer. They might encounter something when they're long lining that is scary, or so we're able to push them through that without being on top of them, so that they're more willing and they understand, and they're not as alarmed when Kieran rides them for the first time. And we take them long lining around the whole farm. So they've seen kind of everything before we get on them. They've been in the indoor ring, the outdoor ring. We have one guy in particular, his name's Alfredo, and he works directly with Kieran, and he is incredible. And he kind of desensitizes them to things that would be particularly scary. He'll take like a tarp in their stall, and by the end of it, he has a tarp on top of them, and they're not afraid at all. He's like a horse whisperer, and it's very cool. In May of their 2-year-old year, they do their first jump shoot. So I'll show you photos. A jump shoot is, there are 3 jumps set up, all with 2 or 1 horse stride in between them. And we practice the jump shoot a few times before the event in May. And you're able to see them jump through over small fences because they are young. And you can see kind of naturally how they want to jump, their style. Maybe you can tell them that they're really spooky, or they're very brave, or maybe they're quick or slow. It's a nice kind of baseline to know what you're working with. They do that same thing again in October, after they've had time to after they've had some time, like they've been long lined, they've had downtime in the field with their buddies. They've now been through a jump shoot before. And in October, it's really cool to see how they progress. And throughout the time between May and October, they don't go through the jump shoot again. So maybe they do 2 or 3 times that week leading up to the October jump shoot, but it's not something we drill them on at all. We really want them to get into the jump shoot and feel fresh and show us their best, because it'll help David and them determine what kind of training they might go into next. As their 3-year-old year starts, they get started under TAC. Like David was talking about, their 3 and 4-year-old year, we show them a little bit, and that is at the Young Horse Show series. So it is specifically designed for young horses. The fees are relatively low, and every single class is catered towards young horses. They really make the show inviting. There's nothing super crazy. It's a really positive experience for all the young horses. And at that show, they do everything. You can show a yearling in hand. You can put them through the jump shoot in a competition. You can ride them. Maybe if they're really young, they can still be trotting around with their mom. So it's really cool. We don't start that until 3 for a few of them, but they definitely all go in their 4-year-old year. And then from their 4-year-old year on, they do a lot more showing. All right, so I thought it would be fun to kind of explain the process a little more deeply. We actually introduced you to a horse that we have here. So I picked him because he's kind of my personal favorite. His name is Madagascar SCF. So he was born in 2012. He is a Belgian warm blood. He was a stallion through his 6-year-old year. And though he's not a stallion anymore, we do he has been collected, so he is able to breed, and we have some people that breed to him. So that is Madagascar. Like I said, everything starts at inception. So his parents are, his sire is Dictator Van de Boslandhove, who we stand here at Spy Coast. Dictator is retired from competition, and actually last year he won the South Pacific Award for the leading sire in the United States. So his offspring is very, very accomplished, of all ages, and he is, of the stallions we stand here, which we have, I can't tell you for sure, but we stand between 6 and 8 stallions here, and he is by far the one with the most offspring, and he is very widely bred too. So that's his father. And then his mother, or his dam, is Rolette. And Rolette jumped in the Olympics. She is still here. She breeds every year, and we have quite a bit of offspring out of Rolette. And so those are his parents. And so that was a decision that was made thoughtfully so that we could end up with something of talent, and that they were really excited to produce. So this is Madagascar as a little tiny fella. As you can see, his mom is actually in the background. So he had not been weaned at his first inspection. This on the far right, the inspection score sheet is not his score sheet, but it is an example of a score sheet for another horse that we actually did this past year. So you'll see on there, it's a little bit chicken scratchy, but they make comments on the yearlings about what kind of type they are, if they have good bone structure, nice movement, good expression, what their demeanor is like. Sometimes we'll get a horse in the inspection, like a yearling that's with its mom, and maybe it like bites its mom the whole time. Or we had one that was jumping all over her this past year. And those are comments that they write down, and it is something that they take into consideration in the inspections. Madagascar was a first premium, and he did pass. He was all approved by the North American Stud Book as a yearling. From there is when, in their 2-year-old year, they go into the jump chute. So this is our brand new, beautiful Hitchcock pen. So it is a large oval arena specifically for jump chutes. You'll see the white space above. They look like windows. They are actually completely open with a black like mesh that you can't see when the light is coming in, but it obviously deters them from jumping out. So here you can see the jumps. There are 3 in a row. It starts with a small crossrail type fence, and then it moves to a vertical. And then the third jump is an oxer, which is where there are two poles back to back. So it's a little bit wider. Each time they go through it, upon successful completion of the jump chute, the jump will raise every time. And that's where we can kind of test their scope and ability and move on from there. The next, that's really fun. Like I'll show a video, I think, on the next slide of one going through, but we typically every year have about 20 that jump through the jump chute. And it's a huge variety. Some horses run through it as fast as they possibly can. Others are a lot more hesitant, and it doesn't make one right or wrong. You can just really see their demeanor and things like that. So the next, here's a video. Hopefully it plays. Okay. This is a horse from this past October. His name is Seminole. He is 2. And here he goes through the chute. So Seminole was a favorite. I'll play it one more time. He was a favorite during the chute. He knew exactly where he was the whole time. He had a great rhythm. His canter never changed. He jumped with great style. He looked happy the whole time. He had a great demeanor. And he definitely was a favorite, and he stood out to us during the chute. Let's see. Okay. So back to Madagascar. We do not have videos of him through the jump chute. Otherwise, that would have been him, but they were many years ago. So Madagascar went back for an inspection as a 2 or 3-year-old, and it was because we intended to keep him as a stallion. Based on his breeding and all of that, our owner really thought with the trainers that Madagascar was one to keep as a stallion to breed. So he went through the same sort of inspection, and in his inspection, he passed with flying colors, and he actually received the highest jumping score of all the stallions that year. So he scored an 89 over for his jumping ability, his style, and so they were really excited. So he was a premiumly registered stallion with the Belgian Warmbloods. Later on down the road, he ended up getting gelded only because of a health issue. He's totally fine now, but it was better to geld him for his own well-being. So back, we already covered this, but the Young Horse Show options, like I said, the Young Horse Show series, they do in-hand jump chutes under saddle, and it's yearlings to 5-year-olds. And then as 5, 6, and 7-year-olds, we take them to A-level horse shows around the country. We specifically work with jumpers more than hunters, but there are young hunter competitions as well. The reason that we work largely with jumpers is because Lisa, our owner, that is where her passion is. She has owned and bred a lot of great jumping horses, specifically show jumping rather than hunters. And she just loves the sport of the jumpers. She likes the the speed, the agility, things like that. And so that's what we're really focusing on breeding here. That's not to say that we don't end up with some hunters and they turn out to be very successful as well. Most of the hunters that we have or have had, we end up selling just because, like I said, it's not really her passion. But we have had some turn out to be hunters, and they've all gone on with very successful careers with their own riders, either child and adult riders or professional riders.
Buenos días, Samantha.
My office is in the middle of the barn, so everyone just drops in here all the time. Okay, here's Madagascar in the young jumpers. So you'll see the photo on the left, the jump is a little bit smaller. That was in his 5-year-old year. As a 6-year-old, they add a water tray. So that's the top right photo. You'll see the water at the bottom. It is just a blue tarp essentially with foam sides, and they do fill it with water so that there's the illusion of water. It shimmers in the light, and it adds another dimension to the course. And then at the bottom, that's Madagascar in his 7-year-old year. He jumped everything with great scope, which is he has ability to keep jumping higher without getting anywhere near the fences. And he was very impressive as a young horse, winning a lot of competitions. As he got older, like I said, he had a bit of a health problem, and it was a bit of a mystery. We're still not totally sure what happened, but he ended up having to be gelded, and he was much better after that. So along with his gelding, he ended up switching and becoming a hunter. So last summer, he did his first hunter competitions. So this is him here in the photo. You'll see he's braided with hunter braids, and he was showing in the high performance 4-foot hunters, and he did so very successfully. He qualified for international derby finals. He won a few big classes, and he really seemed to enjoy his change in career. That said, it kind of broadened his breeding perspectives because he had been collected. He now has a proven record in the jumpers and the hunters, and so inquiries for people looking to breed either discipline now have been coming in for Madagascar. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, let me get back to where I was. Sorry about that. Okay, so that's kind of Madagascar's story, but he is a good example of a horse that we would have had, or we do actually currently have in the young horse. So Madagascar is still here. He is ridden every day. He's a really special guy with a really funny personality, and he's one that we'll likely end up keeping for the long haul unless a really perfect situation arises. He has a lot of talent, he's versatile, and he's a really sweet horse. So that's kind of the evolution of a horse in our division. At Spy Coast, Spy Coast owns, I would say 90%, 85% of the horses in training. We do have a small number of private clients that breed their horses here and then keep them here through training. So we do also have some clients on our side, and we keep in regular contact. So my position, I make sure that the owners know what's going on with their horses. I send them photos, videos, keep them updated, make sure their billing is correct. And then David, Adrian, and Kieran keep me in the loop, and I kind of keep them in the loop on things going on with different horses or different owners. And it's really just, it's a big group effort. When you have so many horses, there's a lot to keep track of in terms of vet records, farrier records, vaccinations, worming, who's going to a show, who's not going to that show, how many trailers do we need, things like that. So that's kind of the overview. The riders that are in the barn, they were all either referred to us through other trainers, or they reached out to us individually. We are occasionally looking for more riders depending on how many horses we have in and what our staff is currently looking like. And really, we are looking for people that are very passionate about the horses, are interested in young horses, because it is different than working with more mature horses. It's more unpredictable. Not more dangerous, but definitely more unpredictable. You don't really know what you're going to get every day. We also have a handful of really wonderful grooms in the barn that work with the horses in the barn every day. They take them to turnout. They kind of keep their finger on the pulse of every horse. So they know if something's going wrong or if something needs to be brought to someone's attention. And that's really important. They keep the barn running smoothly, and they identify any issues that we may have if a rider missed it or got overlooked. And that's just the nature of having so many horses here. And you have to have a really big, tight-knit, intelligent, watchful team to kind of stay on top of things. So quickly, in our training division, we have three barns, and between the three barns, we have 60 plus stalls. So we can have about 60 horses in at any given time. We have a massive indoor arena that is brand new, and it's right close to our barns. It makes the winter a lot easier, or inclement weather, and it's incredibly useful for us to have that to use. We also have a very large outdoor arena along with a grass field that has natural obstacles built into it. So that's a really great training tool, specifically in the summer, because it kind of, when you're able to take them on the grass and have a specific training area that is grass, every day they get ridden either indoors or outdoors, and it might get a little monotonous, to be going around in the same ring or jumping the same looking jumps. So it's really nice to be able to take them out on the grass and kind of switch things up, make it more interesting. It's most of the horses really love going out on the grass. We also do a lot of, because we have a couple hundred acres here, we have lots of pasture and lots of areas to go trail riding. And that is another great way for horses to take a day off and just get turned out, or maybe they go on an hour-long trail ride and just kind of relax. And that's something we try to do with each of them, go on a trail at least once a week when the weather's nice. We have the Hitchcock pen, which I showed you was the jump chute. And that is brand new, and it has really, really helped the jump chute process here. We used to have to build a little pen with these big metal, what's the word I'm looking for? Like sections, and we would build them all together, and then you'd have to take it down. It was kind of a big process. So having the Hitchcock pen is a great way to do the jump chute, and it's also covered, so we're able to use it in any weather. In the training side of the farm, we do have a VitaFloor, which you'll see in the middle photo, and it has solarium lights above it. So those are like heating type lamps, and the VitaFloor is caged in so we can leave them loose in there. And the VitaFloor kind of shakes. It vibrates, and it's just kind of a therapeutic tool, and the horses love hanging out in there. We can put a hay net in there, and they can just stand there for an hour, and they really seem to enjoy it. We also have a treadmill, which you'll see right next to it in the photo in the center. It's just like a human treadmill. It lifts and inclines. It goes down. It goes faster, slower. They never go faster than a walk, but you can get them really briskly walking, which is nice. We also have a walker, which I don't have a photo of, but it is a Euro sizer. So we can put 6 horses on the walker and they all walk in a circle. They're not connected. They're just within dividers, and they go on there for about an hour, and it's a great way to get them out of their stall for another time that day. And it's just light exercise, if not just stretching their legs. And then we also have a cold water spa, which you'll see on the right. It is salt water. It is very cold. And surprisingly, the horses love standing in there. I've put my feet in there and it is absolutely freezing, but they seem to really like it. And it's another great therapeutic tool that we have access to. What else? Okay, so I know that was kind of a lot of information, and I would love to answer any questions that you might have. When making this PowerPoint, I wasn't totally sure what to put in, what not to put in, and I didn't want to have a massive PowerPoint. So please ask any questions. I am so more than happy to answer them. But if you don't have any to ask me now, my contact information is here. And you can also follow us on social media and check out our website, where we also have opportunities for internships and jobs and things like that.
Thank you so much, Sam. That was really informational, and I learned a lot. So I'm sure those tuning in did too. We have a couple of questions for you, though.
Perfect.
So this question is from Lori, and she said, what is the benefit of having Irish trainers? Since the sport horse industry is so large in Europe, did Spyco specifically look for European trainers?
Good question. So the farm originally started because Lisa, her daughter, rode with an Irish trainer, totally by coincidence. She did not go looking for an Irish trainer, but that's who she found. And he still works at the farm, not here every day, but he weighs in on all decisions that are made here. And he shows all of her like Olympic level horses. And so he helped us find over the years different trainers. And I think because he's Irish, they all just happen to be Irish. But it is nice. And we've really noticed the benefit of having European riders here because they're so familiar with the breeding and training process of young horses because it's so large in Europe. So it's really a benefit to us.
Gotcha. And then we had another question from Jacob Hager, and he asked, what is a hunter? I think you mentioned there are hunter braids. So what is a hunter?
Yeah. So a hunter, so the difference between the two. So jumpers are based in the competition ring. They are scored on they're given a course, and it's between like 8 and 12 jumps, and their score or their result is based on they have to jump a course within a certain amount of time, and the goal is to not knock any rails down. And so for every rail they knock down and for every second they go over the time allowed, they're penalized. But that is all that they're judged on. In the hunters, horses are judged on their own style, ease, demeanor. So the hunters are very subjective, where the jumpers are very objective. And it's largely personal judging preference in the hunters, whereas the jumpers, it's black and white. You either have a rail or you don't.
Gotcha. That is all the questions that I see. Oh, wait, there might be one more. How old are the horses before they leave?
So we don't sell any young horses until they're at least 4. And that's just kind of the age that Lisa prefers not to sell them, because you don't really know what they're going to develop into until they're about 4. But there's no limit after that. I mean, we'll sell one at 5 or maybe we have it until it's 12, or maybe we never get rid of it. But it is until about 4 they won't be sold.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. I think that's all the questions we had from the chat, but I want to say thanks so much again, Sam and Spy.
Yeah.
That was really informational, and I think everyone that tuned in learned a lot. Thank you to everybody for being flexible with the technical issues, but it all worked out and everybody was able to view the session. So thank you so much, Sam.
Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. So thanks again for everyone for attending. And like I said, these will all be on our YouTube and Facebook channels. Keep watch for the rest of the horse country equine specific series with our Best of Business live sessions. We have about once a month till the end of the school year with those. So keep an eye out for that. Our next live session is next week at 10 a.m. on Workforce Wednesday, January 20th with IQS Research. So be sure to register for that. And please keep an eye out for our e-newsletter with all of our weekly information, critical job information, and things like that. So thanks all for tuning in again today, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.